Hey, it's me, Max. Since we'll be portraying vampires who have left their mortal lives behind, expect there are gonna be bad things that deal with difficult themes and content meant for an adult audience.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Stitch of Fate, a Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition podcast. As always, I am your storyteller, Mike Martin, joined by my wonderful four players, Dot, Bub, Josh, and Mark. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
What's up? We're
I'm
back
excited.
for more abuse, Mathas.
More, am I abusive? Would you call it abusive?
No.
No.
Because I love it.
So there we go. It's not abusive,
masochism
you
at that
enjoy
point.
it. It's consensual.
It is very much.
This is the penultimate episode of season 1, everybody. So thank you as always for listening and really kind of pushing the podcast. Isn't there awards? Is there awards done by now of this recording? I don't know.
Voting took place in October, so yes.
We're
okay,
cool.
Past that point, but we can talk about another big announcement.
Sure, yeah, go
at
for
this
it.
point, which would be the Patreon.
Ooh, take it away, Dot.
Patreon's coming. That's all. That's what I can say. Watch our stuff. We're gonna launch one so that you can help us maybe fund a season 2.
Yeah, we would like to go into a season 2. I'm excited. Today should be a lot of fun. So unless there's any more, thanks for either winning us the award or trying. Either way, whatever happened, we don't know
We
yet.
love you either way.
Yeah, we love you either way.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's bring it in. Let's rein this thing in, set the mood, and find out what our coterie is up to. The scene actually opens with the sounds of distant sirens. However, the coterie is no longer outside. After seeing the smoke of the exploded and burning part of the hospital, they quickly made their way into the club of their haven, down to the basement, and as the camera follows them quickly hustling down into their meeting room, it settles in the corner of a wall, watching from a skyward angle as the four of them now can get together after a rather long Elysium and put their heads together, realizing something down the block happened, and Max has an inkling as to what it could be.
Well, looks to me like the penny has dropped. We know what Gustav was up to.
What kind of monster bombs a hospital?
Yeah, somebody who wants to fuck with me, essentially.
It's so trite and boring.
Duke abruptly gets up and walks away, if only for a moment. He's going to walk away back to his room, and then moments later return holding a very thick manila-like folder.
What's that?
This is for Sean.
What?
At the Elysium, Sean. Forgive me, the rest of you, I can't seem to relieve my mind of something that he had said. Sean said that he was no longer afraid of me.
Oh, Sean.
Yeah, okay, well,
Moments before that, Sean, I had just expressed to the Regent that I was being held accountable for your actions. I even potentially went as far as manipulating the truth, which goes against my better morals. I stopped you from stealing.
yeah.
From the Regent of the Chantry, which is more or less the equivalent of a primogen. And they're a master of...
I'm sorry, you tried to do what?
I had my fingers on it. It was a really fancy book.
A master of blood magic, Sean. You realize what would have happened had that been discovered. It's likely that it was also blood-marked, and they could have traced it back to this place. That it wouldn't have just been your hide. It would have been ours mounted as a trophy on their wall.
Yeah, that's not a great substitute, by the way. I don't care what's in that.
Look, I'm gonna leave you two to administer the spanking. I gotta go check on something, alright? I'll see you back here.
Max makes his way out of the room, leaving the three of them to continue.
Let him go.
I'd like to go with you if you don't mind.
Duke, you upset Max.
No, Sean. Gustav upset Max. Like 50 years ago or something.
Oh, cool. Well,
And
let's
then
do him
again,
in.
40 years later, 10 years ago.
And sorry, did Duke wanted to go with Max?
Yes, Duke actually is going to hand this envelope, this folder off to Sean, and then leave with them. Just so leaving the two of them in the room, and the folder will be named Edmund Kemper.
And we watch as Max leaves, followed by Duke. Does Sean immediately open the book or the manila folders?
I think he looks at the first page, but he's not particularly. He's
police
mostly
files.
confused by this.
Well, go on, Sean. You're not afraid, right?
Yeah, but I also. It's Manila. There's never anything good in Manila.
As true as that statement may be, I think Duke is trying to make a point.
I hate reading. I open it up.
Well,
And when we watch as Sean slowly flips through the papers, what Sean learns is that there was in the 70s, 60s, a serial killer by the name of Edmund Kemper. Co-ed killer. Killed a lot of young women on college campuses and whatnot. However, he was caught, arrested, and currently sits in prison. As you look at the pictures, you realize all of the pictures of this supposed serial killer do not look remotely like Duke. But as you learn and you read, you learn that these actions are ones of familiar to Duke's persona, the way he walks, the way he acts. And as you put two and two together, you begin to realize Duke's very name is an anagram. Somewhere along the lines, the true Edmund Kemper was taken and turned, and somebody was put in his place, the one we all know today.
Holy shit.
are you really
Where's Duke gone?
surprised? It seems he and Max have business.
You knew?
Well, yes, of course I knew. It's 50% of the reason I keep him around. The other 50% is, of course, his humor. Oh, and some really good accounting skills.
Why did you pick up someone who murdered
Oh, sure.
university?
I didn't pick him up. He found me.
And you don't think he's going to try and kill you?
No.
Yes, Vera knows kindredhood changed him, almost settled him. It's almost as what he was supposed to be.
The soul of a killer, Sean, did not suit me. In my first life, it obviously did Duke. But when you try to spoil something that is already rotten, it doesn't really work. Duke found himself in his second life. He doesn't really have the same MO as he used to.
Do you reckon he's still a monster?
He's less of a monster than I am. You seem so hesitant. Shall I show you?
I've learned enough. I'm going to go help Max.
Does Vera let him? He's suddenly so scared.
You leave so quickly. You were so charismatic and full of yourself this evening. Now, you speak of not being afraid, and yet I can smell the sweat on you.
I'll come to terms with who I bunk with. I'm not afraid that I'm gonna get my head cut off. Nothing like that. I mean, Duke seemed the type. But I know you all a bit better now. What I'm mostly afraid of, being betrayed. Because I see Larson, and he's in a whole pile of shit.
It's true. It's why I told the prince such. You see, part of the reason I am in this coterie is because we don't betray each other. Our existence is like pillars, Sean. We're there to hold the building up even when one falls.
I've not seen evidence of it yet.
You live in it,
But
Sean. The evidence is all around you.
everything I've done so far is for you three. Maybe drugs. But I asked you not to talk about Larson.
I understand that. And I understand why. You want to protect him. I promise. My intent was not to frame him or to harm him. I believe that if we are honest and we come clean at the top, then we will look, say, less suspicious when the rubble is all that's left. Because that's how it works, Sean. Something's brewing, I can feel it. But I don't know what.
Well, that's clear as fucking daylight. Oh yeah. Well, as long as we're not under the rubble when it comes down.
I thought you weren't afraid, Sean.
I'm not. I just know that it's better to be standing on top.
It's true. But sometimes you have to take the fall with your enemy to be able to come out of the rubble.
I don't like metaphors.
Well, I don't particularly like your tone, but here we both are. I need a favor, Sean.
Yeah?
Do you know how to use that spleeblay, or whatever it is that Max gets his ironic t-shirts on?
I'm still wearing the Drac Pack t-shirt.
I gesture.
Yeah, do you want one?
No, in fact. I was looking to put a large sum of money down for an item.
What are you looking for?
A baseball card.
I'll take a look for you.
Consider it a thank you for a friend.
All right.
I'm
I'll do it.
very appreciative. Now, run go catch up to Max. But remember, Sean, part of our existence is about fear. And the moment you stop fearing something, that's the moment it catches up to you.
Sean just leaves.
The camera will linger on Vera as we watch Sean leave frame. Does Vera's posture change in any way after Sean leaves the room, leaving her by herself?
Yes, she'll collect the files. And she's gonna go upstairs. And she turns off all the lights along the way. They'll all be back later.
All lights out.
She opens a case. She puts on a small record. Swan Lake. And she sits in the dark, waiting.
And that's where the camera leaves her. Sean, do you try to catch up to Max?
Yeah, he's gonna see if he can.
Before
provide
Sean
assistance.
catches up then, Max and Duke, you're brought to the nearby sewer, Duke, as he lifts up the nearby manhole cover, and you both kind of slip in and are quickly making your way to the hospital. But the two of you obviously will have time. If there's any conversation the characters would have amongst each other, this would be the time to do so.
Okay. I can cloak up and go and try to find Sam, figure out what's going on. You want to actually talk to the authorities?
I was thinking that I might investigate further as to exactly how this occurred. I even stopped to grab a yellow notepad and my typical pen to help along the way. I fit the demographic of a particular insurance agent investigating a claim.
Sounds good to me. You do that voodoo that you do so well, and so will I.
Easy enough. Do I meet you here at the Great or back at the club?
Might as well rendezvous back at the club, yeah?
This is fine.
Okay. I'm also probably gonna want to try to grab some blood. I don't know how long I have, if my supply is completely destroyed, or if it's just an interruption.
Max, I'm under the understanding that this isn't your first encounter with Gustav's ability to quash something of yours. Is there something that I should be looking forward to seeing? Is there a particular style that he uses and utilizes?
Yeah, he tends to go for a rather flamboyant kill, if you know what I mean. I don't know if Sam is even still around, to be honest.
Very well, then I shall look for anything that sticks out.
Yeah. Let's just find out exactly what happened, how much of the hospital's damaged, any casualties, whatnot.
I'll meet you back at the club.
Sounds good.
And this is where the two of you will separate, taking care of each individual's specialties. Sean, however, did you make your way to the hospital on the street side, or would you have gone sewer side?
I know that Max uses the sewers, and I wanted to catch up to him, so I'd probably
So you
go
would use the
sewers.
sewers, and Max, quietly walking by yourself or hustling by yourself for a while, you actually hear footsteps approaching behind you. Dipping around a corner, maybe even going invisible and looking around, you do see the silhouette of a man jogging before you realize that combed hair, that ripped t-shirt to be that of your coterie member, Sean.
Hey, kid, what's up?
I'm here to help.
Okay, well, you can be kind of persuasive when you need to be. I got Duke up there. He's gonna be an insurance adjuster or something. Maybe you do the same, just a concerned citizen, what's going on, that kind of thing.
All right, what are you going to be doing?
Looking for my ghoul, Sam. I don't know if he's still gonna be in one piece or not. I also gotta check what the blood bank's looking like.
You can borrow some of mine if you want.
I'm good for now. I filled up at the Elysian.
Yeah, all right. What does he look like? If we catch him.
Who, Sam?
Yeah.
I give a description of Sam.
Relatively kind of plain-looking individual and is in like late to mid 40s. Kind of just got he has like a small family. Very average.
Question: did we determine what discipline that Sam?
It would
might
be
have...
your highest. So
he has some obfuscate ability then.
So he's got some. So there you go. He can probably go invisible, like you can, or move without sound. One of the two. As long as he doesn't move, he can. We'll say, because he meets you consistently. When he doesn't move, he has the ability to go invisible. So usually, when you meet up with him, you have to call out, and he'll flicker into existence. But he can't move and do that.
Yeah, here's the thing. Sam, he can be pretty stealthy when he wants to be, kind of a benefit of association with me, so I don't know if it's going to be that easy for you to lay eyes on him. Info is what we need. Info.
Okay. So, just why Gustav wanted to screw you over?
No, I know exactly why he wanted to screw me over. What I'm looking for is what happened to the hospital, exactly what went down, etc., damage.
Yeah, all right.
All right, thanks, kid.
So that's where Sean is going to head and take care of. So everybody's going to kind of split their way. We'll actually go with Max for the time being. Was there anything else, by the way, Sean, you wanted to speak to Max about other than that?
I think he's just gonna say before he leaves, I might have pissed off Duke and Vera, so they're not in a great mood. Then that's me. That's on me.
All right, kid. All right. I think we got bigger fish to fry than you. All right. So your turn in the pan will come later.
I jump in the fire. All right, bye.
Oh, hi. It's Vera. While you're sitting around taking a break, do us a little favor, would you? Go visit dieharddice.com. Die Hard Dice is a sponsor of this little podcast. They help make what we do possible. During checkout, make sure to use the code STITCH-NOV. When you do, you'll get 15% off during the month of November from your entire purchase. And we get a little cut for our own resources. Sounds like we only roll with the best.
Off Sean goes. However, as I said, the camera will stick with Max, making his way through the sewers and eventually over to the parking area where you end up meeting with Sam on a regular basis. Climbing your way up, staying invisible, you can actually hear firemen still clearing out areas and putting out small little fires, and the sounds of still quiet sirens running around the streets a few blocks out. But as you make your way into the meeting zone, you realize that area is completely crumpled and caved in. It seems like the strike was in this zone at the very least. Can I get a wits awareness from you as you start to look through the rubble and start listening? 4 successes. So we see Maxwell kind of quickly kind of step in, realizing that there are people nearby. He ripples out of existence, but the camera still follows where he would be. And he picks up rocks here and there, listening around and scurrying, and finds no evidence of any blood or body. But eventually, Max stops and just puts his ear out. And very quietly, you can hear what sounds like the gasping and wheezing of somebody deeply buried under the rubble. No words can be heard, just a...
Sam, is that you?
Shouting out, hoping to hear a response. You can't hear any words, but the continued wheezing and difficulty breathing under the rubble does continue.
Okay, I'm going to basically try to pinpoint the source of the sound, and using my prodigious strength, I will start heaving aside chunks of concrete.
Would you like to use a discipline, or do you want to use your straight up strength athletics roll?
I've got... Yeah, you know what? I'm going to use a discipline. I'm going to use potence.
Okay, and just adding that strength, we won't even necessarily need a roll because you can't fail a roll on moving rocks. You're simply just going to add your potence to that, and we just see as Max cracks his knuckles very loudly and steps up to the nearest large hunk of concrete with rebar sticking out of it, about the size of him, but even deeper, and without much trouble, he kind of shifts his legs into a position and lifts it. And as he kind of wobbles back and forth with a heave, you actually see this giant piece of concrete get thrown about a foot or two, hit and collide with the ground, with shards of it separating, allowing him to get to the deeper part of it a little easier and moving some bigger hunks one at a time with both of his hands. The deeper he digs, about 10 minutes or so, eventually that wheezing gets louder and louder, and as you pull away and kick away the dirt, kind of filling your vision, and you kind of brush it away with your hand, you actually see what looks like a brown tuft of hair and a familiar, though bloodshot eye that belongs to Sam, sitting underneath, though he still lives.
Okay, Sam, I got you. Don't worry, kid. I'm gonna get you out of there.
And continuing to move the concrete out of the way and freeing more of his body, eventually you have a good front half of his body with a single arm sticking out. It's clear simply by looking at him that most of his bones have been crushed, but the wheezing you can see is still happening as his chest rises and falls. His eyes blankly stare above him, clearly breathing through his mouth as blood trickles out of his lips and his nose caked in dirt. But eventually, we see Max grab his wrist, lift the heaviest that's pinning down the bottom half of his body, and with a quick pull and a tug, even if it dislocates his shoulder, Sam comes loose, he gets pulled out, and Max is able to pull him into a corner behind a lot of that rubble. There's too much noise happening outside, with the emergency vehicles putting out fires and shouting and talking to one another, that this little interaction was not heard by them at all. Max has him cradled in his arms. What does Max do now?
All right, kid, let's get you fixed up here.
With a long nail drawn down his wrist, Kindred Vitae begins to slowly spill, and we see as he quickly places it up against the mouth of his ghoul. Very reflexively, Sam begins to draw from it, pulling it from your wrist and licking what little drops had drawn down even further your forearm. He feeds briefly for about 10 or so seconds, drawing a point of blood from you and a point of hunger from you, Max. As you can actually feel some of his bones resetting supernaturally and his breathing becoming less strained and more natural, though he still has a lot to go, but he is certainly saved and a lot better off now. Once the blood finishes healing what it can, you watch as his eyes roll back and he quietly kind of falls asleep in your arms.
All right.
he's basically going to pick him up, trying not to injure him any further.
Of course, and you will not. You're being very delicate.
Okay. And we're going to cloak, I think.
Okay.
Max is actually going to carry him through the hospital because he wants to stop by the blood bank on the way just to see the extent of the damage, see if anything is left.
Absolutely. We don't even need you to make a stealth check, as none of the mortals here have an ability to pierce through invisibility or see sounds that aren't being made, or hear sounds, rather, that aren't being made. And there are no kindred in the nearby area, as we watch Max kind of climb through the rubble of what little standing parts of this wing of the hospital are. And eventually you make your way to the storage. Clearly the strike was nearby. Most of the blood bags have been shattered and splattered, burned away. But as Max digs around, can I get a wits investigation check from Maxwell?
Sure thing. Oh, it'll pretty much just be wits. Max has the demeanor of a hard-boiled detective, but none of the skill.
But he has the good part, which is the threatening part.
Yes, this is true. 2 successes.
2 successes, however. You're able to find yourself 2 spare blood bags lying around that have not been destroyed.
Those will get tucked into the trench coat, and we'll get Sam back to the club as soon as we can.
And we see Max kind of go back the way he came, eventually slipping into the sewers and splashing through the water, making his way back to the club. However, the camera must stick around for a while as it makes its way above ground, and it follows Duke a few blocks out, walking up to the nearby barriers and caution tape now around this area. A few cops milling about, speaking to one another. Does Duke just kind of plainly approach?
Yeah, there's a certain confidence to it, for sure.
Mm-hmm. As you walk up, as the cops are discussing, they see you and one turns to face you. Hey, place is closed right now. I'm sorry, sir. Come back in the morning.
Right, I'm with Bluegate State Insurance Firm. I'm an insurance adjuster investigating a claim.
Charisma subterfuge, unless you want to use a higher power.
I'll go with charisma subterfuge at first.
Okay.
I'm going to rouse for this, if I can.
Mm-hmm.
There we go, 3 successes.
Perfect. And you, obviously pretending to represent an insurance agency, your question was you're just trying to get information how much damage was done?
That I needed to see the site. I'm investigating a reported claim.
Do you have anything on your person that would at least look, or are you just walking up by yourself? Do you have like a notebook out or?
It's the, like, as I approach, I'll probably be clicking my aluminum pen, and I've got my yellow pad. Outside of that, I'm just walking from like where the cars might be at this point.
So he looks to you, and he looks to one of the cop you're speaking with too. Looks at the other officers, a little older, and has a salt and pepper kind of beard going. And he says, Frank, I'll take care of this. Just go take a walk and check the other, make sure the other officers are good. Frank kind of nods and walks off. He turns back to you. All right, Mr. Insurance Agency man, yeah, we can get you take a look. I'm not supposed to though. So he kind of scratches his beard and then not so subtly puts out his hand.
I'm unsure. Look, man, it's late, and I'm close by.
I can't let you in by law without some sort of identification. So unless you got some identification, the only other identification I really recognize is a Mr. Benjamin Franklin.
Interesting. I think I'm going to compel.
What we see is Duke step forward. This guy clearly trying to pull a little bit extra cash out of him as a bribe. And he levels his gaze. And what does Duke say?
Just let me in. This will be brief.
The cop sighs. Fine, as long as it's brief. And he lifts the tape up with his left hand.
Easy enough. Then I'll skulk inside to try to find a point of, point of flagrance or a combustion spot, anything that may set off some red flags for me.
For right now, it's going to be an intelligence investigation roll.
Okay, I can do that.
Just flat. Unless you want to roll rouse check and add a d10.
No, I'll stick with this. Intelligence investigation.
Yes, sir.
6 successes.
You at the very least can tell that the you're looking kind of for a focal point. It was the southern wing of the hospital.
So southern wing.
The southern wing, as far as rooms are concerned, it looked like some surgery rooms. OR operation.
Okay. I'm going to search for the flashpoint, the ignition spot.
The ignition spot would be, God, I don't know how do I describe this to you. I guess it would be like 10 rooms down from where Max, where the blood bank was, where the blood was being kept. So same wing, same floor, that area. We can call it the second floor of the southern wing.
Sure. Then I want to see if I can find anything that may look like accelerant burn, or if there was something that may have been relegated to like a bomb or a bombing.
That would be a wits investigation with your specialty of criminology.
Okay. 3 successes. I think I'm gonna willpower.
Okay, you can reroll 2 of those.
Okay. Both successes.
Beautiful.
So
So that's 5 successes. Unfortunately, not a critical, but 5 is great. You may not find fragments of a bomb, but you see residue in a small concentrated area that doesn't fit with the rest. You're able to walk over to it, pull a small baggie, and take a long nail or a nearby rock and chip some of it off of the wall and seal it up in a bag to be examined by somebody with the proper tools and experience later.
Then I will certainly do that. I would also like to head to the recording office if I can, so I can try to access their cameras.
Ah, yes, security. Making your way, this will be a bit more of a difficulty as you will be walking in as a plain-clothed person. However, you obviously have your ability to compel and make your way through. The officer, however, as you're starting to make your way into the hospital, is like, hey, I thought it was going to be short.
It is brief. I'm sorry about this. I was actually just off the phone with one of my precinct contacts, a detective. You may know him. What precinct are you with again?
And he lists off the precinct that your contact actually does work.
And then you're familiar with Luther Prescott.
Yeah, I know Prescott. All right. And he just kind of steps back. Make it quick, please.
And again, will only be brief.
And we watch as Duke leaves the police officer behind and makes his way into the hospital. The recording room, after following signs on this, would be on the 3rd floor. However, as you try to make your way past an area that is for doctors and patients only, the lady at the desk says, hey, mister, where you got to check in. You can't just walk back there.
I'll move up to the lady briefly.
As you make your way up, there's a police officer nearby that actually does step up. It's like, sir, I don't know how you got in here, but we're in the middle of a crime scene right now, so I'm going to have to escort you out.
Correct. I'm actually here with the Bluegate insurance firm investigating a claim of potential arson.
Would you like to compel, or would you like to just lie?
I will go with compel if I can, yeah.
Yep, it's not a cost. It's free, and on mortals, like everything just simply works.
I'm just investigating a small claim. I needed to see access to films via security.
After kind of giving the spiel of what you are before saying so, he rolls his eyes as well, very similar to the cop before. I'll bring you there. We make it quick. Understood?
Understood.
He kind of grabs you by the arm, and he starts to escort you. What's your name, sir?
Duke.
Duke. Good to meet you. And he
Yours.
Walks. He actually just points to his badge. Officer Frankerson. And he walks you to the 3rd floor. As you walk, he brings you into the kind of the room where there's already another cop on the outside. You're brought in, and there's already another cop on the inside as well, looking and going through footage. Quick.
I will immediately look to the guard or the police officer that is there. Are you investigating the footage from tonight's hospital visits?
None of your business. What do you want?
It actually is my business. I'm investigating a claim for Bluegate Insurance.
What do you need?
I just need to see what's happening, and I kind of note whatever the wing was.
Okay. There are days worth of footage. Do you ask for just today's footage?
The last 3 days.
The last 3 days? Do you want to watch it now? I mean, it would take hours and hours if you sat here and watched it now. I'm assuming you want to take it with you.
Interestingly enough, I still happen to have that flash drive that was recently thrown at my feed by a Detective Luther Prescott.
So, kind of handing over the flash drive, the officer you watch him go through the past 3 days worth of footage on the hard drive, kind of make copies of it, load it over before kind of popping it out and handing it to you and waving you off.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah. And you're escorted out of the hospital rather quickly. Is there anything else Duke would like to do while on premises?
No, I do not think so, at least for the time.
Okay. Then Duke will make his way back toward the club, leaving us to linger with Sean. Now, Sean, where exactly did you end up heading again? I apologize.
I was going to the hospital.
Okay. To do?
I was going to see if there's anyone hanging around.
A lot of cops.
Like, Hmm.
And they, whenever you get close, they start ushering people back and away. Nobody seems to be lingering nearby, at least within a block.
Okay. I think Sean will just be keeping an eye on those people, see if there's anyone that's not just like press or a Gorka, like someone who's paying attention.
And how long would Sean linger for?
If he sees Max or Duke,
you would eventually see Duke
he's...
leave.
Mm.
You wouldn't see Max.
Yeah. He's gonna hop over to Duke then.
Duke, on your way out, as you kind of part your farewell to the officer that let you in, and he kind of gives you a nonchalant goodbye, and you make yourself no more than halfway down the block. You actually see jogging up to you, Sean.
Mr. Best, it's a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, there's no one particularly interested in hanging out outside. You get anything?
I've gathered some footage. I also managed to piece some fluid or a filament or a powder, whatever happened upon ignition.
I know powder.
Very well. I'll toss him the bag.
Okay. You get a small sealed plastic bag thrown at your feet.
I'll take a look. What
It
color
looks
is
like
it?
black powder.
Nah, wrong color.
Well, I still have my contact in the police unit.
Police seem like they might know what to do.
Sean, you seem a little rattled.
Nope. Just feel kind of fucking useless. Let's just go back.
Very well.
You all march back. Vera, after spending some time in the dark and listening to music. Eventually, everybody returns. A couple hours later, all gathered once again in the basement, but Max comes with somebody.
Max is going to enter. He's carrying the body of this rather beaten up body with him. He just says, "Hey, everybody, this is Sam. I'm just going to lie him down for a bit."
Oh, you right?
He's going to be. Max goes...
I'm going to look him over.
What'd you say?
I'm going to see if there's anything like he needs aside from...
I mean, he's
Max's
unconscious,
blood.
so what would you like to do with him?
I'm just going to check cuts, scrapes, see infections.
Yeah,
Probably got first
give
aid
me
kit in the
an
club.
intelligence medicine check, Sean.
Sure. 1.
There are no open, other than scrapes and bruises, there is no open wounds. At the very least, he wasn't directly attacked. It just seems like he might have been caught in the blast and crushed.
Max is going to lay him down in his little storage closet there. Probably just in where Max rests, because that's probably the only bed in there. And Max goes to his mini fridge, stores the other 2 blood bags, grabs one of the cold ones out of the fridge, wolfs it down to replace the blood.
Say to hunger. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, would extra blood be of any benefit to Sam?
It would definitely help. If you want to give him another point,
it
would speed up the healing process exponentially.
Okay, so yeah, basically he's going to drink a blood bag, feed him again, and then drink another blood bag. So essentially, those 2 bags he had at the hospital are gone.
By the second feeding, after his body kind of takes it and supernaturally heals, he's actually conscious. He's able to speak a little bit. He's not full energy or anything like that, but he is awake, and while still in pain and injured, he can talk.
Hey, Sam.
Fuck, what the... I don't know what happened. There was a bang and...
Yeah, I just pulled you out of what was left of the parking garage there.
Oh, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, I think you kind of got in the way of an old friend of mine.
What the hell? What do you mean?
We'll talk later, all right? Just, I'm glad you're okay.
What the...
Now you just lie. Yeah, you just lie here and you let that blood do its work, all right?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. And then he kind of leans his head back and closes his eyes as you shut the door.
Should I get him some morphine? I got some morphine.
No. That's fine. He's
okay.
He's gonna be all right. Appreciate the offer, though.
Everybody gets back to the blood room.
Did we find anything other than your ghoul?
I found some blood. Pretty much got what was left in the blood bank. I think I'm gonna have to find some new hunting grounds, so to speak.
Max, with the turn of events of the last decade with Gustav, his method is modus operandi. Was he more of a burner or an explosive type? You said flamboyant, and I'm just looking for anything that would mark itself as an expletive.
Well, he never liked to repeat himself too much, but yeah, I mean, this certainly falls within his purview, if you will. He likes to leave a message, and it's coming through loud and clear.
I did discover some powder on the scene in the flashpoint. I'm going to pass it off to Prescott, my detective contact.
Wonderful.
Fair enough.
Hopefully they are already trying to cover all this up for us, even if they don't know it.
I still have 3 days worth of footage to comb through, but I believe that this was a recent event.
Agreed.
Look, Gustav's new child, Stinky.
Yes.
She's gonna be coming here at some point. I've arranged to meet with her.
She is welcome.
Okay.
Max, what are the odds that Stinky was forced into arranging this explosion to happen?
I don't know. That's one of the things I want to find out. But I think Gustav's got his hooks into her pretty deep. Let's face it.
Very well, if that's the case, then we may have to go about scrubbing some footage at the hospital. But short of that, I'm assuming that since she is a Nas, she similarly has the ability to hide her visage.
I mean, both me and Gustav wouldn't even show up on a camera. The kid, I don't know.
It's worth noting. I'll let you know if I discover anything that seems off-kilter.
Fair enough. Look, is it okay if Sam recovers here for a while?
Of course.
I don't know if he was specifically targeted by Gustav or whether he was just collateral damage.
Well, the fact of the matter is, Gustav knows where we are and what we are up to.
So why didn't he blow us up?
Because he's already done that. Gustav very clearly wants to disrupt Max's life.
Yeah.
Which we can all...
I mean, no, I'm saying that makes sense, but like, Max is just moving on. He's finding somewhere else to get his stuff. It's not the most difficult thing in the world.
True.
Try hard enough.
True enough. But if he blew up the Haven, he'd be directly attacking the three of you as well. Right now, it's still just a personal matter.
I mean, nah, I don't like him, so if he comes around here, I'm gonna fuck him up. Like, that's just... It's pretty simple. He fucked with you.
I appreciate that, but he's playing the long game, clearly. And
He won't survive to see it. We'll make sure of that.
From the sounds of things, he jumped through a few hoops to get back in the prince's good graces, smooth things over with the cam. I don't think he'd blow it all. Just to do that. Nah, he's got something else in mind. You see, back in the day, Gustav and the cam didn't really play ball. Yeah, he never really expressed much interest in it. Having to swallow his pride like that, nah, he's setting up something bigger in the future, I'm sure.
But why now? What does he have now to give the prince to allow him to come back in?
I don't know. I had a word with Kaiser. He said that Gustav presented the prince with a gift. Something good. I don't know what, but it was enough to get him back inside, if you know what I mean.
Well, I know who would know. The person that's supposed to know everything. Maybe a visit to our local harpy will prove to be advantageous. Until then, we should be on the lookout. He's here. And he's been watching us.
Yeah, from what Kaiser said, he's been back a year at least.
Ugh.
What's at the hospital?
My supply of blood, for one.
Okay. But if it's bigger than that, what else?
At the moment, the hospital is the largest and most important building in our domain.
Yeah, I mean, this could have been him thumbing his nose at the whole coterie, who knows?
The flashpoint was discovered 10 rooms away from the blood bank.
I'm gonna keep an eye on it.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna go prep some stuff and keep an eye on it.
Sean, before you go,
Yeah?
as good of an idea as it is, I want to say it, and I'm going to say it in front of all three of you. I don't think that this is larceny. And I don't think that harming him is a good idea. So,
Should we ask him?
ask him what?
Help.
He came to us for help, remember? He's shaking in his boots because he has been backed into a corner, and we are slowly being dragged with him. I did tell the truth to the prince, and, well, what she needed to know. She seemed relieved that the ghoul was handled.
Yeah, the question is, does Gustav tie into this whole business with little Miss Stitchface?
That's what I seem to be asking myself right now. I'm trying to tether a line to one another and I'm struggling.
Well, let's see.
Purely coincidence does not operate in our world as kindred.
It's true, Duke.
Do you keep your back door locked?
I would hope so.
And the club's closed currently, correct?
I would think so. This is Elysium night, so we closed it. Well, for a reason.
Yep. Wits awareness then, the four of you, please.
Oh, no.
It's not that scary, I promise.
Oh, good.
It is whether you hear something.
Ooh, I've got 2.
1.
4.
All right. Duke, you're the only one that can hear a distant, muffled, sounds like banging on the front of the club.
The front or the rear side?
The front. That's
Okay.
why it's so distant.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we might have a guest.
Oh,
Could be Stinky.
could be.
I'll rise to the occasion and start making my way that way.
Duke makes his way to the front door. Just opens it and just to see who stands.
Unless there is something that I might be able to look through.
I don't know. Do you have anything to peer through the front door?
Maybe like one
Are
of
there
those sketchy
windows?
slide things. You know, like the metal slides to you can look out.
Mhm. Do you have that on the front door?
Sure, that seems reasonable. We have some security. We paid for a little
As
security.
you slide open the door, the little peering window, and look down, you see a rather plain-looking girl with long brown hair, sheepishly looking at the ground, waiting a few more seconds before she reaches up with her hand and starts to bang on it again.
Max sort of fades into existence beside Duke.
Might as well let her in.
Is this Stinky?
Yes.
Okay.
If you don't recognize, but Max looks through, Max would recognize.
Okay. Then I will unlatch and turn the door. Let her in.
As the door opens, she quickly looks over her shoulders a couple times and then steps in very quickly to the door may be slid shut behind her. Thanks. Thank you. And as Max is standing there, she looks up to you, Max. Clearly, she's still hiding her visage again.
Hey, Stinky, come on in.
Hey, thanks. She kind of claps her hand together and just follows you. I know you said we could talk.
Yeah.
But I figure I could come as well. Thank you for being so nice.
Right, well, I will step away.
Before you go, he's on his, Prince is on her way. She's with
Interesting.
Gustav right now. That's something of a reason I left.
Now that you've mentioned Gustav, before I step away and inform Vera of the prince's arrival, Stinky, was it?
just nods.
Did you have any involvement in the explosion at the hospital?
A wits insight check.
You can attempt to lie to me if that's the case, but I'm trying to decide for Max's sake if we go back and scrub the film. 1.
While she's certainly trying to be... Max, did you want to roll your wits insight as well?
Actually, Max doesn't even buy. He just goes, "Look, maybe you can just clear this up. Do you show up on camera, Stinky?"
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I will try a wits awareness.
Okay, she's trying to sheepishly, not answer the question, more or less. Duke, while you may have assumptions, the hunger is constantly in your mind. With 3 Max, though, she's being a little too obvious.
Look, Stinky, I know Gustav put you up to it, all right? And I know you don't have much choice in the matter.
I don't know what you're talking about, okay? But she gives you a look when she says that, the both of you.
I'll lean in to Max. I'll scrub the film and replace it at the hospital.
Sounds good.
And I'll walk away.
Okay, kid, this ain't the Spanish Inquisition. You ain't on trial here. I just wanted to have a chat, all right?
Okay.
So, we might as well do this somewhere we can sit down comfortable like.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah. And she just, again, very kind of falls into herself and follows you wherever you lead her.
How you doing? You hungry? You need some blood? You're too skinny.
No,
Come on.
No, I'm fine. And she just genuinely tries to deny it, even if you give her a blood bag. But if you do hand her a blood bag, she will reluctantly begin to sip from it.
So we'll make I think he'll take her down to the blood room. The blood room is not necessarily, sure. We often admit guests there, so its existence isn't a secret.
Correct, yeah.
And do we see Sean anywhere?
Sean would be around.
Yep.
Sean, you would watch them making their way downstairs.
Yeah, he's watching from a distance, probably. I don't know, do we have firearms? Do we have guns?
I certainly do.
I would imagine you must at least have a pistol or something.
Yeah, then he probably would have gone to get that just in case,
okay.
But he's, just pretty relaxed, watching from a distance.
So
Yeah.
Max just calls out,
Hey, Sean, this here's Stinky.
You all right, Stinky?
She gives you a wave and a small smile.
Sean.
Hi.
You look to be in a bit of a sticky place.
No, I just, because Max invited me. Max said I could come and speak, and my sire's on his way anyway, so I figure I just get ahead of him a little bit.
Yeah, getting ahead of Gustav, that ain't always an easy thing. Believe me, I know. How much has he told you about himself, Stinky?
Well, he talked to me about his great successes in the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, he's shown me some of the trophies that he has from his accomplishments over the decades, and I mean, it's very impressive.
Yeah, very impressive.
He said that if after a few years, in some practice and stuff, that when he was done with all this, all the things he'd earned, he'd leave to me, or should he meet his untimely demise by the horrible werewolves or the religious fanatics out there.
Yeah,
like his prodigy, right? That's what he likes to call me.
Yeah. You ever play chess, Stinky?
No, I don't like chess very much.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
bad at it.
kind of boring, isn't it? But you know those little pieces that get moved around and sacrificed? They call them pawns.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you right now, that is what you are to Gustav. And if you start thinking you're anything more, well, you're only leading yourself to heartache.
But that's everything. I know you and him. He told me after you all left tonight, that the two of you once were really close, and you stuck a knife in his back and tried to take everything from him. And
Yeah, well, the knife was actually in his sternum.
But if you hadn't, you'd be where I am right now, right? Next in line.
Stinky, I know you're pretty impressed with Gustav, but he wasn't so impressive the first time I laid eyes on him. Berlin, 1945, shriveled up inside a box. He ever tell you about that?
No.
Yeah. Well, sit down, Stinky, because I'm about to treat you to the secret origin of Max and Gustav.
She gives a furrowed brow and looks to the nearest seat before sitting down. How do I know you're not lying about it?
I don't know, Stinky. I don't tend to lie. I tend to lay my cards on the table.
I'm all ears.
I see what you did there.
She actually does give a polite chuckle and then slurps on the little bag of blood you gave her.
Like I said, the first time I laid eyes on Gustav, he was in a box that me and my unit had just pried open. We were a covert mission going into Berlin, 1945, ahead of the Soviet advance, trying to secure, occult artifacts that the German High Command had squirreled away. I'll be honest, it wasn't a normal mission. Like I said, covert. We'd been seconded to some kind of alphabet soup unit, could have been OSI, who knows? They didn't tell us. All I know is our cap was taking orders from a couple of civilians. Bookworm.
Is that normal?
Nope, nothing normal about this mission. Anyhow, those two bookworms that were in charge didn't fare much better than the rest of my unit once we opened that box. Gustav, I don't know how long he'd been in there, but clearly the Nazis had gotten their hands on it at some point and were trying to figure out what made them tick. Well, he woke...
Gustav a Nazi?
No. He was more like being kept as a souvenir by them. Who knows? Who knows how long he'd been in that box?
She actually does, again, chuckle, very taken with your story so far. She's leaned forward a little bit, her elbows now closer to her knees, and as you laugh, she's like, oh, that's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, sure is. But, well, in the course of events, I'm not actually sure what happened. Somebody cut their hand while opening the box, who can say? Anyhow, Gustav woke up. And he made short work of everybody there. He was pretty hungry. Like I said, I think he'd been in there a while. He had no idea where he was, neither the lay of the land. That's why he embraced me.
Is that what he told you?
That's what I know. He whispered the same bullshit in my ear about prodigy and apprentice and whatnot. But I knew it was a lie.
But maybe it's because he was so, like you said, he was so hungry. You don't know how long he was in there. It was a mistake. Well, I'm different. I planned.
I think you are different, Stinky. Because he seems to be using the carrot a lot more with you. With me, it was the stick. With me, he bonded me. He forced me to do things. I was his puppet for years. But there was always a part of me that I kept to myself. And over the years, that part grew. We came back to America. He had me show him around New York. Built up quite a little base of operations for himself. About a decade in, that's when I started to find my feet again. When I found that I didn't have to listen to everything he said. And that urge got stronger and stronger. It wasn't just being forced to be his lackey, being forced to dance to his tune, no. Nah, it was the way he fed. You might have noticed he's got a particular style about him. He seems to be keeping his nose clean these days, but back then, the shit he made me do, what he did to people. A clean...
Doesn't sound like Gustav. What you're saying doesn't sound like...
No? Well, maybe a clean kill is more his style these days, but it wasn't back then, believe you me. He never had to worry about being seen, sure. But his kills? Oh yeah, they were something. Messy. But he had an artistic flair about him, too. You been with him for what, 4 years? Yeah, something tells me he's not showing you his true face. 'Cause he knows what your reaction would be.
You're scaring me, Max. This isn't... I think maybe I need to go.
What did he tell you about me, Stinky?
I told you, nothing. I didn't even know you were a thing until recently.
Yeah, so I was just his prodigy who betrayed him out of the blue for no reason.
Yeah, I mean...
What'd he tell you?
Yeah, he told me that others had whispered things into your ears, that you had gotten grand visions that were not attainable.
That's a load of horse shit. What did he tell you about 10 years ago? 2010, Halloween, New York City.
Nothing.
Well, that's when Gustav came looking for his revenge. He killed a lot of people I cared about. He killed my pets. He destroyed my home. Does that sound like the benevolent mentor that you're describing?
No, not... He took me in.
If he took you in, he had his own reasons for it, Stinky.
He's been nothing but kind. I've seen him offer help to so many people.
Kid, I'm just trying to warn you. Gustav is one of the most evil pricks I've met in my life, and I've met a lot of evil pricks. Just watch out for yourself, Stinky, okay?
Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah.
I've said my piece. Like I said, no hard feelings.
No, I just need to think, I think. Thank you. Thank you, Max. And she kind of like awkwardly pushes herself up off the chair.
One more thing before you go. Did Gustav mention why he was planning on paying us a visit tonight? With the prince, no less?
I imagine it's to just give him an alibi of a sort.
How do you mean?
He told me that we were hitting back at somebody who took everything from him. His trust. Proved that he couldn't trust, and it wasn't until me that he could trust again. And so we were going to work towards that. That was part of it. We weren't going to kill, we were just going to hurt. And so that's you, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a safe assumption.
I don't know. I imagine the prince would be interested in what happened anyway. I don't know. I do what he says. I'm too young. I don't know anything. And then she kind of gets up and begins to leave.
Yeah, Stinky. I'm pretty young as well. Or at least that's what they keep calling me. I wouldn't believe him.
Who?
Not yourself. Yeah?
I don't know anything.
I think you do. Trust your own instincts. It's easier than trusting these monsters.
She bites her lower lip, clearly debating on whether she's going to say something, chews on it momentarily before she spins quickly and hurries her way out. The camera will be at the top of the stairs as she rushes up them and rushes by the camera. And as the dumbfounded look of Sean looks up the stairs as she leaves and the other coterie kind of peers into the hallway, we shudder to black. The last episode will be next week. We'll see you then.
Do Vera a little favor, would you? Break out that Masquerade Breach in your pocket and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at PodByNight or Stitch of Fate. Make sure to leave us a little 5-star rating and review, would you? And if you don't, well, I guess I'll just have to send Max after you.
I have an exciting announcement. For those of you who have been asking about Season 2 of Stitch of Fate, we now have a way to make that happen. If you go over to patreon.com/podbynight, then we've got a ton of amazing rewards, including extra videos, behind the scenes. Our initial goal to make it happen is $1,000, so we're going to need a lot of support. So thank you everyone in advance for enjoying Season 1, and I really hope you can join us for Season 2.
Special thank you to Kimberly and Sean Casey for sponsoring this podcast. Stitch of Fate wouldn't be possible without your incredible kindness and support. You sure know how to rouse our blood.